The Chicago Bulls are apparently shopping Nikola Vucevic. Welcome to the party. The Bulls also do not make a trade into the second round, but still pick up an undrafted free agent. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Plus, DeMar and Zach LaVine could be wild cards in free agency. We're going to get to all that and more on today's Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily Chicago Bulls podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. That's Pat the Designer, host and creator of the Windy City Breeze and host of the Chicago Bears podcast over at ESPN 1000. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls Central, Chicago Bears Central YouTube pages and podcast. And Pat, Chicago Bulls are apparently shopping Nikola Vucevic. It's about time. But that does leave some questions on what is going to happen with the starting center position if you are shopping Vooch. But how you feel about it, Pat?
Listen, I think it's a good move. I'm here for the youth movement. I want to see the Bulls go all in on the youth movement. And to me, I think that this was the final piece that we were like, okay, what happens if Vooch is still here, though, right? Not to say that you have a center that can take over, although we do need to figure out some kind of clarification on the power forward position, because I have no idea how heavy or light Matas is at all, bro. Like, I'm getting lists. I've looked all through the internet today. I have seen everything from 6'7", 187 pounds to 6'10", 210 pounds. Bro, that's very different players, bro.
I think so. The draft. That's why I always go off the draft combine numbers, because it's without shoes. He measured at 6'8.8 without shoes, right, and 197 pounds. That's according to the draft combine. I tend to trust those numbers,
which is fine. Height wise, I think right. Everybody wears shoes. I get without shoes, but everybody wears shoes. So when he puts shoes on, I'm assuming he's probably the 6'10". The weight is my question with him, but that's either here or there for this topic. I've been looking it's been bugging me all day, bro. I'm like, 187 is a wing. 210 could be a power forward. We need to figure this out before we start game planning.
They got you stressed out, bro. He's playing on the wing,
bro. They got you stressed. Hey,
Stop worrying about it,
now wing can be anything from a 2 to a center at this point in this league. But no, here's the thing for me with the fact that the youth movement is happening is you finally have some pieces that feel like they can be in the right place, right? You've got Kobe White probably sliding over to the 2. You've got Josh Giddey playing the point guard where he feels a little bit more comfortable. Kobe could be a little bit more combo. Does that move P. Will to the 3 and/or Matas, if he's able to get into the starting lineup, to the 3? Could that mean P. Will at the 4, right? But you're going with players that are younger. You're letting it rest on their shoulders. And so to me, I want to see the Bulls continue to do that. So I'm fine with you moving on from Nikola Vucevic. Yes, you have to address the center position, but even if you get a placeholder center this year, with Vooch on the team, to me, he has to be a part of your offensive scheme somewhat heavily, right? Like, you're not going to say, Vooch, you're the 5th option on the team. So I think that it just opens things up for the Chicago Bulls to have the young guys that they feel. Kobe White coming in as your number 1 scorer, maybe 2 or 3 is Josh Giddey. You want to see Patrick Williams get some more opportunity. Those are the things to me that allow you to actually see what you have on your team versus having these older guys who, they may not take up the same positions as some of these players. Like Vooch doesn't take up any position that we have from any young player, but he does take shots away from those young players because you have to get him involved in your offense, because he's somebody who's still showing up on the court saying, nah, dog, I'm still a double-double. Give me the ball down low.
Yeah, I mean, Vooch is, and that's the thing that of course, when the players on your team, their negatives scream out louder to you, but teams that are looking around the league could find value in Vooch, but they're not gonna give any type of value to the Bulls because they know the position that the Bulls are negotiating from. I mean, if the Bulls are fully embracing the youth movement and they move on from Vooch, DeMar, whoever else it is, can't be mad at it because they're finally picking a direction. But ultimately, you got to get somebody in there. Even if you do want to go young, you still want to play functional basketball. You need a center to do that. So maybe that the Clint Capella rumors make a little bit more sense there. Maybe it's part of like a 3-team trade they're hoping to get and bring in Clint Capella, because it could make some sense at a starting level center with him only having 1 year left on his deal versus the 2 left on Vooch's, something like that maybe. And when you look at it, Clint Capella, and not the most mobile big, but he can probably play better in a faster pace offense than what Nikola Vucevic could.
Well, and the thing that you'd love is Clint Capella to the Bulls with Josh Giddey as his point guard.
Yeah.
Right. That's really what you end up getting the most value out of, because we've seen Clint Capella be used in certain situations where you go, listen, what I'm looking to see from you is you set a screen and then you go up and get the basketball. I had a trade idea.
Okay.
Breeze today that was a little bit. Maybe it's a team that, because I don't think you're going to get a ton of value, right? That's my thing with a lot of what we're going to see out of this. I don't think that you're going to get a ton of high draft capital. I think you're probably talking to teams who, for the most part, know that, hey, we don't need high picks because we're trying to win now. Would there be a possibility in your mind, because of the friendship, because of the relationship, and because of the front office relationship, where you could see, now Nikola Vucevic would have to take a different role, but possibly a trade to the Denver Nuggets, because they have a system that allows for a bigger big that's maybe a little bit more slow-footed because of the players that they have on that team. They have guys on the bench whose money that you can kind of work it. Now with Casey, I think KCP opted out today, so that may mess up the money a little bit. But the possibility of Denver saying, listen, not only do we have Jokic in the game all the time and we're running him to death, but giving him a real backup center that, like Andre Drummond did for Joel Embiid, offers real minutes off of the bench, like real-time minutes where Jokic can rest for 10, 15 minutes of real time. He hasn't been afforded that, I don't think, since he's been in the NBA. Has he really had a backup center?
I don't think so.
I feel like he's been a
38+
minute guy every single night. You're getting to the point where if you want to extend his career at all, you need to kind of get him some of that rest. Do you think we could see something to a team like that in a scenario like that?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Ultimately, the internet's crapping out on me. I think that there's going to be, depending on what the Bulls are willing, if they're willing to sell low on Nikola Vucevic, there's going to be a bigger market than what people are expecting, meaning that there's not going to be no market. It's just that don't expect the Bulls to come out on top anything more than expiring contracts. And that's if the Bulls still don't have to give up picks to make that, to facilitate that, to make that happen, which is why I like the Bulls giving up Alex Caruso, their best trade chip, and not trying to attach something else to it was a little bit surprising by some people, because a lot of people thought that if the Bulls were to move on from Alex Caruso and they were going to try to attach at least one of their least desirable assets to try to make that a little bit more enticing to get that off the books as well.
It's so funny now because, right, like it feels like the conversations around a lot of these trades have changed without Alex Caruso winning. You really see how much people value the pieces that the Bulls have. Like all of a sudden they're just like, I mean, we'll take Vooch, but like I got a future first-round pick that's protected and like a wet dog that you can towel off when it gets there. Yeah. Like that's like, I feel like the offers around a lot of what the Bulls are trying to put out there, not to say that there's no value for these guys, but for how the Bulls have been operating in a lot of these trades, right? No matter what we say about what they got back in the Giddey trade is one that keeps the Bulls in a competitive manner. He's a young player that has upside when nobody else is on the floor running the ball or controlling the ball. When he can control it, that keeps the Bulls competitive. I don't know if we see trades where there's going to be a loss outside of maybe the Zach LaVine trade. I wonder if we would see something like that with Vooch, where they go, no, it's okay. Like we'll take a couple future picks. We'll take some old players that just have contracts that are coming off of the books, and let's see what the heck we can figure out.
See, I don't know if you're getting any picks back for Vooch. I mean, if you're getting picks back for Vooch in an expiring contract, that's a pretty damn good trade, considering what his value is probably looking like around the league right now.
Yeah,
I kind of more so think it's going to end up being you're just like, that's why, like I said, the Clint Capella maybe makes sense if it's like a 3-team trade, because at that point maybe you're just taking back that expiring contract that nobody wants in Clint Capella, and then you're just left getting out of that deal a little bit earlier. So.
We'll see. I think it's very interesting to see that the Bulls are willing to move on from Vooch. I think that's the real conversation that it's good that we're having now. And if the Bulls can find a way to get somebody to take Vooch's money off of your books after, I mean, listen, you signed him to a deal that you kind of had to sign him to, but now as you are going through it, it's like, okay, we can still get rid of this guy, but does he have any value around the league that makes it worth it for us moving forward? Does he have any competitive value to players out there? I mean, listen, I think a big part of why our pace of play is so low is because of Vooch is on this team. So I don't know if teams are willing to risk slowing down their game unless Vooch is willing to take
Zach
I said,
just got drafted number 9. There's teams that are willing.
Listen, I'll say this. Yes, like I will say this. Centers are back, dog.
Not yet. You can't say that.
First 15 picks, 9 of them were 6'10" and up.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's how, like, Zach, you can just say there's always going to be centers, but you can't say centers are back. The centers, the type of Zach Edey, they're not all that. It's not all that. There are more mobile centers that bring that. Like, if you look at most of the centers that were taken in the draft, they can stretch the floor, they can get out in transition, they can pass. So I wouldn't just say the center is back, like as far as in the reference of the Zach Edey type center.
I mean, there's still centers. My point is that at the top of the draft, and maybe this is just a center-loaded draft, you're seeing a bunch of big men come off where in the past years, you've more so seen guards and wings come off of the board a lot higher.
Well, yeah, this was a center. It was a power forward center deep draft in this one. So that makes a lot of sense there why you're seeing that. But, with that said, next up, we're going to be talking about the draft a little bit as the Bulls do not get into the second round, even with players like Tyler Smith, Kyle Filipowski there. Before we get into that, we got to talk to you guys about a message from one of our sponsors, and that is Gametime. Gametime is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Last-minute deals save up to 60% off buying last minutes for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game and or event. Save even more when you choose a section and let Gametime choose your seats. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, Pat. With that said, man, Kyle Filipowski, Tyler Smith, some other players as well that Furpy, not necessarily a position of need for the Bulls, but there's some really quality players that were expected to go in the first round that were in the second round of this draft. The Bulls ultimately decide not to trade into or buy. There were teams that did buy second round picks for cash considerations, but they do sign an undrafted free agent in Marcus Domask in this coming out of this draft. How you feel about the decisions made on day 2 by the Chicago Bulls there?
I mean, listen, if you're not going to get into the second round, go with the guy that has a ton of upside. Y'all know, big Illinois guy over here. So Marcus Domask was the name. When I saw that pop across my screen, I was very excited because to me, he's somebody who's a smart player. He's a consistent player. A lot of times when Coleman Shelton, I'm going to the center that the Chicago Bears have signed. Well, I am wearing a Bears hat. When Coleman Hawkins' game was off, you could usually count on Marcus Domask to be able to go out there and be consistent and still keep you in the games. He's a guy 6'6", 215. He's a guy who can be bigger as well. And I've seen him, gain weight fairly quickly through his college career. So I could see him being a guy who finishes out maybe around 220, 225. If he puts on some NBA muscle, like I think that he will be a very solid piece. I think he's no more than a bench piece, but to me, that's all you're really asking him to be at this point. And the fact that the Bulls were able to lock him up. First off, can we talk about how much AK just loves Illinois? Like, is he just going to these games every night because they're so close? Or
I really do think that AK is somebody who just loves watching basketball. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if you can catch him at a park in Chicago, probably with a hoodie so nobody knows him, just watching 8 people play semi-organized basketball. He's just like, hey, I just love AK. Just strikes me as somebody who loves the game of basketball, truly does. And maybe this job has killed that love a little bit for him. But yeah, he definitely loves Illinois.
AK is not wearing a hoodie. He shows up to the park, no mask, full suit on. But he's definitely got a gun in the pocket, bro.
When he was getting laps in the Berto Center?
He was doing what, Roberto?
He was getting laps in.
Right. He was running. I thought you were saying he was getting lap dances, dog. I was like, shout out to this man.
Laps in.
The internet's weak. I got
he was dressed like Hoodie Mello. He absolutely wears a hoodie.
Oh,
bro.
Listen, exercising probably, bro. But I feel like he goes to the park just with the unregistered Glock in the pocket, just like, hey, let's see what kind of problems we have. You know what I mean, let's see who's hooping today. Don't get out of pocket. Yeah. But no, the one thing that I will say about Domask that listen, there's one part about how long he's been in college. Y'all know. I love that about these players. If you're going to take somebody undrafted, this is a 5-year guy in college. He played at Southern Illinois for 4 years, played at Illinois in his senior year, right? His second senior season. And now he's in the NBA because he's a guy that knows his game. I think he's going to have some real contributions to his game. And we'll see we'll see if that ends up working out. But I think he's a name that actually makes this team heading into the season. He'll be somebody to watch out for. The one thing that was interesting about the Bulls not trading into the draft, did you see, right, the guy that I was really trying to get the Bulls to maybe go back into the draft for, Kyle Filipowski, the weird story around him? Bro,
the story around Kyle Filipowski is one of the strangest things you will hear ever in a draft, bro. Like, first of all, that woman used to be his babysitter. She's the female Drake. That's crazy. And the thought process of thinking about him in these NBA team interviews, and she's sitting in the background like Ike Turner, just sitting there like this. This crazy visual, bro.
They feel like there's some manipulation going on there. They feel like there's maybe a little bit of control going on there, and they're saying that's why he fell in the draft.
Yeah,
I'm like, what? So she's in the back, sitting there playing puppeteer. By the way, how long have they been dating?
Who knows? But
because if I'm not mistaken, Kyle Filipowski's how old?
This is not to judge anybody else's religion, but they say that it's like Mormon cultures is interesting.
Oh, okay. I didn't know he was.
So that's a part of it as well.
Oh, okay. Maybe a little different, because I was gonna say, I was like, if they've been dating for more than 2 years, isn't he 19 and she like 29?
She's 29. So yes, that's why I said there's if this was flipped and that was a man in that situation, people would have the pitchforks come into everywhere, bro. But think about it. She's so controlling and weirded so many NBA teams out that she could have ruined. Like, not just if he comes and he performs, cool. If he performs for an NBA team, he'll get a job, he'll get a contract. But to think that he doesn't have guaranteed money now because he's a second-round pick, and just the weirdness of all that is just because he's weird. Bro.
Just because he's weird.
And it's funny because it's like I'm like, well, maybe it was the hip thing that he had going on where like he had like part of the bone removed or shaved off or whatever. Nope. Like maybe it was that. Nope. It's just like, do you know how weird you gotta be? Because there's a lot of weird NBA girlfriends that you gotta be for the teams to be like, we don't even want to draft you because of your woman.
ESPN draft expert Jonathan Giovanni was on with Zach Lowe on the Zach Lowe Post podcast. He said the workouts weren't great, and people tell me there were question marks about the interviews. They said he was nervous. He didn't make shots at the pro day. What's going on with his girlfriend? He has an older girlfriend. She's like 26, and people are like, this is weird. He doesn't talk to his parents either.
Yes. Strange, bro. Like,
bro, you better be a hooper.
He better be hooping, bro.
And like, that thing better be phenomenal for you to risk your NBA career on it. Like, listen.
I mean, you know, when you young, bro, you risk it all, bro. Like, it's just that's crazy, man.
She better be out here. What's that thing going around Twitter? The Hawk Tour?
That's crazy, bro.
Oh no! Was it anybody else outside of old?
There's PJ Hall, who I really did like. Remember, we talked a little bit about PJ Hall. I can't remember what team he signed with, but it was shortly after the draft. But that's really it. Like, and don't get me wrong. Are you expecting any undrafted free agents to necessarily turn into something for you? You know, It's happening more and more, but you got to put in work to develop them. But I think this is a solid pick. Like I said, even if he ends up being on the Bulls G League team, cool. Like he gets to stay at home. Like it is what it is when it comes.
I think that's the thing, right? I'd rather see you. How many years was it like? Well, the draft's over.
Yeah, decades of that.
You know what I mean? Like it's like, well, why aren't you trying to find this guy that you could develop? Why aren't you trying to find the diamond in the rough? I will give AK credit for that. I believe in 3 drafts, we have signed 2 to 3 undrafted guys every year, and I'm pretty sure all of them have been a part of the Windy City Bulls at some point. So there's some kind of development you're trying to do. Yeah, was year one Justin Lewis or year 2?
Year 2 might have been Justin Lewis for sure.
Year 1 was Justin Lewis, right? Yeah, Justin Lewis. You talk about, you trade back in for Julian Phillips. Adama Sinago goes undrafted. You pick him up.
Well, no, year one was nobody because that was the year that we got Patrick Williams and Marko Simonovic in the second round. We didn't pick up
Simonovic was a sign of
No, was that Javon Freeman Liberty?
That was Javon Freeman Liberty.
Javon Freeman Liberty. And then it was Justin Lewis, and then it was Adama Sinogo. So yeah, every year they've signed somebody. So
and year 1 also was what was old boy name? The shooter. He actually played a little bit for us. White dude.
You've named 40% of the G League.
Well, he played for us. Like we signed him and he played for us. He was on. Don't worry about it. He was on our summer league team. I can't think of his name. But he was a shooter. He actually got onto the actual Bulls team for a little while last season, maybe season before. But no, AK's big on working the undrafted market, and so I think that's good insight. That's you looking for a diamond in the rough. Go find that. You know what I mean? I'm not mad at it at all. Did we draft Unero?
No, it was just a signing.
He was just signing as well. I already signed him. So. Hey man, we appreciate y'all tuning in and showing love. As always, before we get into this final topic, wait,
you have no ad read, bro. I was waiting for you to. I was about to see how far you were going to take it.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do, man. I had no ad read. Whatever. I don't think we're supposed to talk through that part.
Yeah, it is what it is. With that said, man. Seems like the Bulls are really open for business. Right now, it's being talked about that DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine trades, signing trades, whatever it ends up being, could be wild cards in the free agent period. I mean, we talked about several times. Like, I know some Bulls fans are getting a little antsy. What's going on with Zach? Could he come back? Zach LaVine was always kind of expected to be a consolation prize, meaning that a team strikes out on maybe their first target, maybe even their second target, and looks at Zach LaVine and says, hey, we need some scoring. Let's go ahead and pull the trigger on the Zach deal. And then DeMar DeRozan. It's seeming like the Bulls are truly going and embracing a new direction. We heard that there's no momentum on any type of deal, no conversation. The free agency, by the way, free agency opens in 2 days, which is crazy.
I love how the NBA is doing this.
The NBA has made this phenomenal. Because now that you can start signing your own free agents before the draft, and then now you have the draft, and then a few days after the draft, free agency opens. They've kind of done the best of both worlds. I always love how the NFL does it with having free agency first, then the draft, because you get your veterans in there. The NBA now,
you figure out what you need to draft.
Figure out what you need in the draft. So now the NBA is basically like, hey, you can't sign other teams' free agents, but you can sign people you want to retain. Kind of still know what you may want to get in the draft, and it's so much more of a seamless process now. But yeah, what do you think about DeMar DeRozan and Zach being not consolation prize, but wild cards in free agency?
I think that DeMar is a wild card in free agency because I wonder if there is a team that DeMar says I want to go here, but they can't pay me what I want. Does that benefit the Bulls? I wonder if there's a sign and trade that you could work out for DeMar DeRozan after a deal is facilitated through free agency, because there is no team out there that can pay him as much as the Bulls can. So I would assume at this point in his career, he's not looking to go play for pennies on the dollar. Now, I will say this. A lot of times people will take pay cuts to get into better situations and go out there and try to win because they don't want to disrupt the team that is currently there. But I think a lot of the team, like we keep looking at, the only teams we're looking at is LA. We just keep hearing the Lakers could be interested in DeMar. The Clippers are very interested in DeMar. If the Clippers lose Paul George, keep an eye on DeMar. The Clippers are losing Paul George. So I don't know if the Clippers have the capital to sign him to a meaningful deal. So that may be something where if he wants to be a free agent, well, I guess if Paul George leaves, they might.
It's a possibility.
I don't know what that cap situation looks like.
Yeah, I don't have the cap situation off the top of my head either, so I'm not gonna, talk about it from an area like I know for sure what the cap situation is. But it at the end of the day, it could get interesting, is what I'll say. And I think that there are going to be suitors for these guys. It just depends on what the Bulls like. The DeMar thing, I think you have a good chance.
Yeah, they can't sign him.
Who?
Clippers are $103 million over the cap.
But that's including Paul George's cap hold. If he leaves, that considerably goes down, right?
If Paul George were to leave, they would be. I can't do that kind of math. my brain did not.
I love that you admitted. I love that you started to try. You were like, you know what? I got nothing to prove here.
My brain was not going to make it. They would still be 55+ million over the cap.
So yeah, they would need a.
They would be under the second apron, but they would still be above that first apron. So they would still need a sign and trade.
Trying to look at what cap holds they have. So, well, James Harden has a $52 million cap hold as well. So if he signs for less than that, some of that comes back on the books, and then. Yeah, that's really about it, though.
It's still not a lot of money that you can even begin to offer DeMar DeRozan versus the max he can get here? 90 he can get here.
So if you're looking at DeMar DeRozan signing trades with the Clippers specifically, because that's kind of the team that we heard mentioned the most, who or what would you want to try to get back in that signing trade? Because I doubt they're giving up Norman Powell's initially what my mind went to, but I doubt in that situation they're giving up Norman Powell.
You know what? It's. Are we saying sign and trade? So DeMar's getting $40 million a year.
Well, you don't have to get the $40 million a year to sign and trade.
Yeah. I mean, listen. For sure, I would love Terrence Mann because I don't think they know what they're doing with him.
That's fair. I like the Terrence Mann.
I would love Terrence Mann. Part of me wants to say Russ, but I don't think Russ is leaving. I don't think that they're sticking with the old guys on that team. You know what? 39 years old. Would you be interested in a Terrence Mann, PJ Tucker combination?
I don't think you're going to get both of them because again,
PJ Tucker make 11 mil, and they hate him.
No,
they hate him there. Like they didn't play him. Like,
did he opt out though, or he didn't opt out because he has a player option?
I do not know. I would assume he probably opted in. He's not getting 11 mil nowhere else.
Okay.
But I do not know. This does not say whether he did or not.
Again, the DeMar DeRozan sign and trade, it's not like you're necessarily looking for any. I almost don't care what you get back, only because as long as the contract's coming off the books sooner than giving a damn DeMar a 3-year extension is. So not really worried about it in that case.
No, and I think that's the thing. As far as I can see, he did not opt out or opt in yet. So maybe he's waiting on that decision. I don't even see a latest update on PJ Tucker. Oh wait, what do we have? PJ Tucker expected to exercise his $11.5 million contract option. Yeah, PJ Tucker's not making 11 mil nowhere else. So I would assume he said, "Oh, y'all not gonna play me?"
And the fact that PJ Tucker made $11 million last season and Andre Drummond got 2.6 is wild.
Well, yes and no. PJ Tucker got signed to that contract was that in Philly? Did he sign that in Philly?
Was that still? Is he still on the contract?
I think he's on the Philly contract because they literally paid him just to go stop Giannis, and then he did it, and they were like, "Wow, we didn't actually expect that to work, but it didn't work long term." No. Hey, he couldn't do it. Well, nobody could. Yeah. But I would be interested in something like that, maybe some draft capital just to make it work, late round draft capital, whatever, just to make it work. Because to me, you're getting a 28-year-old experienced player back in Terrence Mann that you could pair up with Io on the bench. Let me get that.
Sure.
Let me get that. PJ Tucker, you do whatever you do. You turn. I need you to come here and do one job for $11 million. Put some dog in Io or in Patrick Williams. That's not a pause. That can't be a pause. There's no way.
No, I'm just listen. I'm thinking like at some point we got to stop thinking that you can get anybody to put any type of dog in Patrick Williams. He has to want it, bro. Like at this,
no. That's the only hope I have.
I really hope that Patrick Williams has a great season.
I have.
So you could stop the pat on pat crime.
Hey, listen, I hope that Patrick Williams has a great season as well. I'll be his biggest supporter and I'll cheer for him the loudest, but you got to give me something to cheer for, my boy, because that whack floater that you keep throwing up that's falling 5 feet short.
It could be such a good floater too. Like it's like
it looks phenomenal. It looks phenomenal.
Like that push floater when he first started, because you remember that preseason, he was hitting it great. And then the season started, and it hasn't been the same since.
Never hit it again.
Yeah. That's like Andre Drummond with his preseason 3-pointers.
Hey, if he, they also don't let Drum take a 3-pointer. I think Drum took 2 3-pointers in the regular season. I think he made one of them.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, he did.
I mean, listen. My thing that I want to see out of all of this, though, is just a resolution that, at the end of the day, like I said, contributes to the young movement, contributes to the young players getting more playing time. I don't want to see you. Here's my other thing: don't bring anybody in that's going to take those minutes away from these guys. Don't bring anybody in. You just drafted Matas Buzelis 11th overall. Don't bring anybody in that's going to play his position.
Yeah.
You got guys on the team to do that already. Don't bring anybody in that you are going to look at and say, well, maybe he could be the starting shooting guard on this team. No, you bring in a guy like Terrence Mann because you know he's a bench shooting guard.
That's a fact.
You know what I mean? So that's really the outcome that I want to see the Bulls have here.
Yeah, I agree, and we'll see what comes with this new direction for the Chicago Bulls, and how much better they can execute it. And that's probably something that we need to talk about on tomorrow's episode: is how well do we expect AK and Eversley to really be able to execute what it seems like their plan is going to be. That's the dangerous place to be in. Pat, go ahead and send us home, brother.
Expectations are dangerous in the city. Yeah. Follow us on everything at Locked On Bulls. You can follow me on everything at Pat the Designer. Appreciate you guys. We got to say this before we go. Appreciate you guys for getting us above 10K.
10K on Locked On Bulls.
They got a little. Hey, there we go. Yeah. Why is that so long?
Because it's definitely never mind. I'll tell you what after we get done. You guys can follow me at CEO Haize. Well, thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Locked On Bulls. We are free and available on every podcasting app and platform of your choice, as well as YouTube. For Pat the Designer, this has been Locked On Bulls. We out here. Peace, y'all.
That was about to be a wild joke, my boy.
That was about to be a wild joke, my boy.
Does Vooch to the Clippers make sense?